What the hell happened to wrestling?
Outlaws.
I don't go no street, no smacking with a beat goes rocking and a sound I'm checking into a hotel. I'll stroll no more outlaws in town. They ran their clan.
Welcome, friends, one and all. It's episode 76, the Middle-Aged Outlaws podcast, and we continue on our TNA journey. It's been too long, Adam.
Been a while. It's my fault. I went and got ill, and then I'm fine now. Well, pretty much.
Quite selfish, but yeah, it has given you the opportunity to grow at what I would describe as an incredible beard.
Is that? Have you ever had it where, when you're looking, like you're not looking in the mirror or anything, just as you're looking forward in life, you can see your beard? Because I can see my beard.
It's the dream. It's been too long, and if you say it's been a while, you need to say it in the style of the lead singer from Stained. I don't know if you know that, but that's just the rules, unfortunately. But like Kevin Nash at Bound for Glory 2008, we're back and we are jacked to the gills, full of testosterone and ready to rock and roll. Did you enjoy our latest and greatest TNA Bound for Glory?
I enjoyed some of it. What about you?
As it goes, I enjoyed some of it as well. I enjoyed a lot of it, actually. I think I enjoyed more of it than you, but we shall see as we delve into it.
Okay.
But first, let's talk our movie for this week, which was from 2008. As we're doing, TNA's Bound for Glory from 2008. It was The Strangers, starring Liv Tyler and Scott Speedman. Feels like quite a long time ago that I watched this. Will I synopsis us?
Yeah, do it.
Okay, Kristen and James are expecting a relaxing weekend at a family vacation home, but their stay turns out to be anything but peaceful. First, a mysterious and dangerous woman arrives at the door while James is out on an errand. When he returns, he accidentally kills his friend. Wow, this is this is not a synopsis. This is like, well, here's what happens in the film. So maybe I should stop there.
I feel like it took quite a leap. Like, there's a lot happened between that and that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a better synopsis would be couple at wedding, staying at a cottage or the dad's cottage.
Yeah.
Get completely terrorised by nutters with masks.
Yeah, that'll do.
You enjoyed The Strangers, didn't you?
I'm a big fan. Like, I don't know if this was maybe, home invasion horror became quite a thing. There's loads of films out there now, but I don't know that at this point it was really an established genre or subgenre. And this is a great film. Like, the thing I love about horror is when it could happen to you. Now, this is real people, but not real people, it's a film, but it's regular people. They're just living their lives, and there's no reason they should be in any danger other than the fact that these three fucking psychopaths have just decided that they are going to destroy them, and you just don't know. There's psychopaths out there, there's crazy people everywhere that might just decide, I'm going to do this. So I like the horror where there's that element. There's also the feeling like you're not safe in your own home. It's not their home, but it should be a safe place, but they're not safe. And it also does something really clever where there's tension, because there's tension between the couple. I think it turns out he's proposed at the wedding and she said no.
Yep.
So there's tension, and you feel the tension right from the start. But there's also, it's one of those where because of that, every little thing feels like it matters. Like, there can be just a little noise somewhere or just something that seems a little bit off, and you're kind of drawn to it, and you can't really look away. You can't, I wasn't watching this on my phone all the time or anything like that. I was very in the film as I was watching it.
And I think there's blink and you'll miss characters in the background, or the inside of the cottage at times as well, which is great.
Yeah.
It keeps you drawn to it. I think I texted you saying, but I really loved Liv Tyler in this. Her acting was absolutely amazing.
Yeah, very good. Like, I can't think of that many things she's been in. I'm sure she's been in plenty of things that I just haven't watched, but she's very good in this. Like, the proper... I mean, she is being terrorized because for a period in the film, her other half has gone away to go and it's like cigarettes or something like that. He's gone away to, and it turns out I think he's phoning his friend to say, "Come and pick me up from the house. Things haven't gone well." So she's alone in the house, and there's all this stuff happening. Like, I love when you definitely see the masked guy in the background while she's looking out the kitchen window and stuff like that, and you're kind of expecting maybe something's going to happen at the window, but no, it's not. It's behind her and she can't see it. And then when stuff does start happening, like, there's a slow motion scene where the front door's opening just as she's been hearing banging and things like that at various points, and it goes slow motion as the door's opening, and I love stuff like that, and her reactions are fantastic. I mean, she is terrified, and she is playing terrified very, very well.
Yeah, agreed. Something I like about this film is it doesn't do the cheap jump scares. So you don't get those things that you're talking about there, like the face appearing at the window sort of thing, and you falling out your seat. All of it's sort of very sinister and calculating, and it's really, really, really good. A lot better than I expected it to be. Like I think I'd said the last time I watched it on fast forward because I was quite terrified of it the first time I ever saw it. Really glad I went back and watched it. Really, really enjoyed it.
I was thrown off by one thing because I knew about where the synopsis went straight to a very unfortunate incident where the man's friend that's come to try and pick him up is in the house, and they at this point are thinking everyone that's in and around the house is trying to kill them, and he ends up killing his pal, which is a horrific thing in a horror film.
I did the proper classic, oh my god, like actually shouted, put my hands on my head, and I was like, oh my god, he's going to shoot his friend.
Yep, and you kind of know it's coming, and I think the masked man is behind him at a point. He obviously decides, I'm just going to let him go. He'll just do his thing.
Play it out.
And then you hear the gunshot and all that. It's the realization that the guy, as he realizes he's shot his friend, and then I noticed that friend is one of the central characters from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, which totally threw me off as well. Because I've seen this film
a little bit,
and then I think I've watched all of Always Sunny since going back and watching this film again. So yeah.
And there's a Strangers 2, which I want to say came out about 10 years later, but it's very tenuously linked. It's basically just like the same sort of thing happens to another couple. Never seen that, have you?
No, I think I'd be scared, like just thinking this is going to be terrible and it's going to ruin everything.
And I see that there's one coming out this year. They're making a trilogy. Do you know what I love about the? If I wanted to say one thing I loved about this film is, I think right towards the end, Liv Tyler says, "Why are you doing this?" And what is the line the girl says? Because you answered. Says,
because you were home. And it's in such a matter-of-fact way. It's so, like, against everything that's just happened, because it's not, there's no drama for her. There's just this is just what we decided to do.
Exactly. That's horrifying.
Yeah. It's so creepy and unsettling.
And when they take their masks off as well, there's no grand big thing made of it. It's just like, and I like that the camera doesn't show you their faces or anything like that, but the characters just know they're fucked now. They're definitely going to kill them. Masks are off. We've seen them. Great film. Highly recommended. That's The Strangers. Shall we go into...
There's only one thing I was going to ask.
Oh, go on.
See, at the very end, there's kind of a jump scare moment. Where the kids that are basically on their way, like leafleting or something like that, they find the house and they go in. And Liv Tyler, as they're sort of, I think, standing over what is her dead body, or seemingly dead body, she grabs one of them and screams. So that wasn't supposed to be in the film. I don't think that the writer-director wanted that in the film.
Right.
But I think the production company pushed for it further to be the possibility of Liv Tyler potentially returning at one point.
Mm.
I wasn't sure if I liked it. I was a bit like, I was really satisfied with the ending as it was without that.
Yeah. Aye. It's that kind of Hollywood thing of it not being all tied up and it not being like some bit of hope.
Yeah.
I think we're quite nihilistic in that we like the film to have finished with them dying and the bad guys getting away.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's interesting. I quite like an ambiguous ending, but there's no way she could have survived all of that.
No.
These guys seem pretty good at what they were doing.
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. TNA Bound for Glory 4 is what we're going for. I wonder if they continued that on. They're definitely. This is their WrestleMania. They're trying to make it big. We're in Chicago. We're going Untouchables themed. Loved it. Opening package, black and white, gangster, 1920s gangster themed. Loved it all. Did you like this package?
I did. There were some snippets in it I liked. Immediately, I felt like I was drawn into the Angle and Jarrett story, where Jarrett is talking about how he has kept this company afloat. Basically, he's been the guy, while Jarrett, obviously, it was his wife was really ill. That's what it was, wasn't it? Why he disappeared?
Yep.
I think as she passed on at this point. Yeah. So he's back, and he's obviously been through hell, and they're sort of leaning into that, which, as long as he's fine with it, I think is a good way to go. It's real life. And so I was drawn in immediately by that. And then there was, I think it was Christian with a soundbite or something like that, where he says something like, "Don't let the good looks fool you." And that got me as well.
Brilliant. I think Jarrett went away at Bound for Glory 2006 after the main event of that. I was the same. I was immediately drawn, and we'll speak about that later. But that was one of the highlights for me of this whole show, actually. Okay, TNA Bound for Glory tradition to have a fucking mental battle royal multi-man match to start off with. So here we are. We've got a Steel Asylum match for the X Division number 1 contendership.
Yeah.
How many guys we got in this one, Adam? 3, 6, 9. We've got about 13, 14 men, maybe?
Yeah, I think
in
so.
This one. And the thing looks like a big red tea cozy that they're in.
Yeah. So when they first showed it, I was trying to work out, they're talking through what you need to do, and there's a hole at the top of the cage, so you need to get up to the top and climb out of the hole at the top to win, which
sort of
looks really
circular.
difficult.
It did.
Yeah.
So it's sort of circular towards the top, and like you say, there's like a round hole at the top, almost like climbing out of a cave or something like that sort of thing. But it's an interesting design. Never seen that before. You think you've seen everything in wrestling, and then you see something.
Yeah, and like, I can't think of anything it's even similar to, like, in the way. And I was also thinking, because they've, just in case I think they're looking at a photo finish, there's a ref up there. So there's a ref just like sitting at the top of this hole. But I was thinking, I don't know if I'd want to be that guy. I'm not a big heights fan, but he seemed pretty chilled out.
I think he was strapped to it, wasn't he?
Oh, was he? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you know what? It reminded me of the what was the thing that Batista and the Great Khali had? Like a Punjabi
prison match.
Prison match. It reminded me of that a little bit. But with less bamboo and more red steel. Should we go through everyone that's in the match, or should we just quickly talk through
it? I mean, I don't have a huge amount of notes for this one. I'll be honest.
These multi-man matches are difficult. I'll quickly run through who's all in it. So we've got Petey Williams, who's like dressed as Scott Steiner cosplay.
Yep.
Black Machismo, Jay Lethal, Chris Sabin and Alex Shelley are both in there. Shark Boy, Curryman, Jimmy Rave, Sonjay Dutt, Johnny Devine and Super Eric. And the Motor City Machine Guns, they always seem to be in these things together, and they just dominate. They were wrecking everyone for a good portion of this thing.
Yeah, I like them. I like the fact they've paired them up. I think I remember when watching little bits of TNA back in the day, them being an entertaining team. They work well together. And I suppose the dynamic of having a team in a bit of a sort of shit show style match like this, you can go with that for a period of time. You can have them combining and taking guys out, which I think works.
100%. Do you know, we're going to have to get rid of this monkey paw that we keep, that keeps curling its finger every time we say something, because we complain about Christopher Daniels lacking direction and personality. Then the next pay-per-view we come to is wearing a mask and he's got a wee sombrero on, and he's called Curry Man, and his music's talking about him being spicy. This is brilliant.
It was like, I knew this happened at a point, and it's that where he is so like, well, yeah, as you say, we've talked about the fact he doesn't really, there's a charisma in terms of what he does in the ring, but he doesn't, ooze personality when he's just being Christopher Daniels. But this is such a leap.
It is, eh? That's exactly what it is. Does it look like he has hair poking out the bottom of his mask?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
But he doesn't have... He has a bald head, doesn't he?
I mean, I don't know why he would have grown hair for the purpose of then wearing the mask. Yeah, weird.
We also had Eric who? What's his name? He's also got a luchador mask on.
Yeah.
Eric Young.
Yes.
He's now Super Eric, and he's a luchador as well, apparently.
Yeah.
It's all a bit strange.
I felt a little bit like, you've got Super Eric, you've got Curry Man, you've got Shark Boy. I felt like quite a lot in one match, as well as, Pete Williams, like the cosplay talked about. Yeah.
So odd. There was a guy in here called Johnny Devine, and
yes.
I think he nearly killed Jimmy Rave.
Yes, he did.
He hit something called the Divine Intervention.
Yes.
And I think it could have broken his neck.
Yeah, I've just referred to it as Divine Intervention, which seems to be dropping somebody on their head to their death. Yeah.
It was like that. What was the one? It was Jeff Hardy got pile driven by Rhino, I think, in that the 2005 one or something like that. Just horrendous. Anyway, we've probably spoken enough about this match. Realistically, we get towards the end, we get Curry Man almost winning it. We get Sonjay Dutt is up there as well. And ultimately it comes down to Sonjay Dutt and Jay Lethal. Lethal launches Sonjay, who's hanging from the cage. He's hanging upside down. I don't like that.
No,
I'm not a fan.
Me neither. Yeah,
terrifying.
I just assume the worst is about to happen, thankfully. No, but yeah.
And big Jay Lethal manages to somehow climb out the top of this thing with great difficulty. It reminded me of Saturday night watching Gladiators. But he gets out there and gets the win. Do you think we'll see the what was it called again? The Steel Asylum? Do you think we'll see it again? No.
I think they'll just come up with something else that's a bit crazy.
Reminded me of that WCW thing that had the electric chair in the middle of it. Torture chamber or whatever. What was it? Chamber of Horrors or something like that?
Yeah, I think that's right. Chamber of Horrors.
Abdullah the Butcher. Okay, so not off to a great start. What were you thinking after that? Were you thinking ideal?
I kind of just thought that's that out the way. That's it done. You like almost every one of these shows we've had a multi-person X Division match of some kind, and it wasn't a great match, but there were some I think entertaining moments, and then I thought, yeah, ready to just move on.
Okay, so we're backstage. We're in Cornette's office, I believe, with Jeremy Borash and Cornette. And Cornette, I've never seen that man happier in my life. he sees Mick Foley and just all the anger and the frustrations with the contemporary wrestling business just fall away from him. He's so happy.
The thing I was thinking, right, firstly, I'm so surprised that Cornette has lasted this long in TNA, because it's been years. And I look at this card, and there's so many gimmick matches of one kind or another, and I'm just thinking he must hate this. And then I didn't even know if he was selling how happy he was to see Mick Foley, if he was just genuinely thinking, this is a guy I can actually, communicate with, speak sense to. But yeah, he seemed thrilled to see him, and then immediately seemed to give him his job for the night.
Yeah, he's like, just here, have my office, hang here. And Foley gets himself comfortable immediately.
Yeah.
Yes.
We've gone for a little risky joke in here as well.
What's that?
So the beautiful people who are a female tag team, I can't remember the name of both participants, but
nice.
they come in and they're having a rant, and they're talking about the wrong type of M&Ms being in their dressing room, and then they storm away. And I guess Borash and Foley are joking about Mick Foley's shirt, and Mick says, "I'd rather be in velvet." One of the women's called Velvet Sky.
Nice. Foley does a Borat impression. He goes, high five. High five. It's just, remember we were sitting with Nash one year, and he's just like, just pissing about. That's what Foley seemed like as well. Brilliant. So talking to the beautiful people, let's go to the next match. It's the beautiful people and Cute Kip versus ODB, Raka Khan, and Rhino, with Tracy Brooks as the guest ref. What is this called? Like a Bimbo challenge?
Bimbo Brawl.
Bimbo Brawl, of course. I'm not sure Rhino fits into that. If this is like the X division, then what's the parameters of being involved in the Bimbo Brawl division?
Yeah.
Mr. Ass, I was going to say. Cute Kip has went straight back to like proper Billy Gunn attire. He's got the lips on his on his shorts and everything. I felt really bad for Rhino in this match.
Yes. Why are they doing this?
just nonsense.
Yeah, I didn't enjoy this.
I'm shocked. But this is terrible. And let's preface this by saying that domestic violence is not a laughing matter. However, I burst out laughing when Billy Gunn clotheslined ODB. Like, he didn't just clothesline her. He, like, absolutely destroyed her.
See, right at the start of this, I didn't think they would have male v female in the ring. I thought it'd be one of them where, when the male tags in, the other male has to get tagged in, like we've seen before. But yeah, so that was quite surprising.
So yeah, there's nothing worth talking about here at all. I think we've seen ODB. I think we thought she was all right.
Yeah, I think out of that, was it like a gauntlet or something like that, a multi-person match for the title? I think she was one of 2 or 3 that we thought of maybe got something.
Yeah, unfortunately, all this came down to was a famouser attempt missed and a gore from Rhino. Very sort of poor, soft gore, and Rhino, Khan, and ODB win. Now, we go backstage with Crystal. She is with Consequences Creed. Give me your views on Consequences Creed.
He's not for me. I never minded the he was in the team in WWE. I can't remember her name. New Day. Yeah, so he's one of the participants in New Day, and he seemed to fit that. He was, a bit over the top, but it worked within that grouping. I found him really irritating, and he's doing a promo, I think, basically saying, America good, the rest of the world bad.
Yep.
But there was nothing behind it. There was nothing. It just seemed like words he was being told to say, so he was reading. It didn't connect, I didn't think at all.
Yeah, it felt like somebody like playing to be a wrestler. Like, this is what wrestlers do, so He's so over the top. He really irritates a perfect word to describe him. I was fully behind Sheik Abdul Bashir in their X Division match. We're not off to a great start here, really, are we? Between the big teapot, the Bimbo Brawl, and then this is a real shame because the X Division, when you think back to how the X Division started out, with Christopher Daniels and AJ Styles, and they had matches with Samoa Joe, with Chris Sabin, with some great matches. And Consequences Creed is not for me. Like, it'd be fine if he could then go in the ring, but everything's so generic and sort of boring.
They went quite all in with this story because they had like a war hero that was Chicago based that came out just in case anyone had any doubts about the story that was going on here. And they had the crowd doing the USA chant. Poor Sheik's, but he's born in Minnesota. Poor guy. He says people hate him. But I did think the only thing that I thought about this match was obviously with the character he's playing. Was it Sheik Abdul Bashir? Was that his name? Yeah. Mm-hmm. He was doing some sort of over the top maniacal facials as he was doing some moves, and that caught my eye, and that was about it.
Brilliant. Who ends up winning it? The Sheik.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, he over the top rakes his eyes and rolls him up and holds the ropes because he's a dastardly heel.
Yep. Evil prevails.
I've written here in my notes, the X Division is dead.
It does feel like we've gone a long way away from, AJ Styles, Christopher Daniels, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it feels like their stars have been promoted, and they've sort of left it behind. It's a shame. Apart from Curry, man. Now, if Curry man had won that thing, then I could have got straight back behind it, but he was too spicy for them. You didn't laugh at that, so okay. Okay, backstage again, Foley and Jeremy Borash. Foley is just openly discussing his King of the Ring 1998 Hell in a Cell match against Undertaker.
Yep.
Which is absolutely brilliant. He's like mimicking JR and all that as well.
Mm-hmm. He says something that's like a rock catchphrase as well, and talks about like gimmick infringement and stuff like
that. So Awesome Kong's manager comes in and asks, "Why are you here?" And then she almost then just goes, "Oh, it doesn't matter why you're here." And he goes, "Hey, that's gimmick infringement. That's the Rock's gimmick."
I wonder how that comes out when you're just basically taking everything that's said and done from your WWE days and just saying it here. I wonder how that goes down.
It's great because, like, it's we complained about WWE being mentioned, but that would be like ignoring something.
Yeah, I mean
that's like really obvious.
Yeah, everyone knows where Mick Foley has been working the vast majority of his recent career.
Aye. Yeah.
I've got a really weird thing in my notes. Was I starting to get unwell as in these? I've got a build for the triple threat. Who does Taylor Wilde remind me of? Is it Tara Reid during her American Pie days? Maybe. That's what I've written in my notes. As well as the maybe.
Maybe. Let's circle back on this, Adam. She does remind me of her a bit, doesn't she? We've got a Knockouts Championship match. It's just like, let's get all the shite out of the way, and then on the back end we'll make up for it. But to be fair, this was actually a fairly decent match. So it's Roxy. Now, I don't know if you want to be referred to as a hardcore queen. Anyway. Awesome Kong, Roxy, and Taylor Wilde, who was the defending champion. Never seen Taylor Wilde before, I don't think.
No.
I was highly impressed with her.
Yeah.
I thought she was a great wrestler. I like Awesome Kong. I've certainly from what we've saw of her, she was good, and Roxy was all right as well. And the fans, she was well over with the fans. Roxy.
It was a decent setup because I think and they're very much putting across that the chances of Taylor Wilde retaining against Awesome Kong in a one-on-one might be slim, but there's kind of an advantage here for an underdog champion to retain because it's a 3-person match. Because the way they're putting Awesome Kong across is like, this is an unbeatable monster, and the beginning stages of the match absolutely looks like that. But yeah, and Roxy and Taylor Wilde, they both kind of seem incredibly like spirited. They just keep going, both of them. And there's kind of a sort of enthusiastic determination about Taylor Wilde. And yeah, I didn't have high hopes for this. I thought it was okay.
It was quite short. I was actually a little bit gutted when it finished. It seemed to abruptly finish out of nowhere. Taylor Wilde gets a German suplex with a bridge on Roxy, whilst Awesome Kong went to the top rope, which just does not seem well advised. She gets knocked out the ring, and when she does, Taylor Wilde gets the win and retains her title. Well played. Is that maybe 3 times we've seen Awesome Kong, and she's yet to have the title on her? Yeah, it's interesting. Quite fairly decent booking, actually.
Yeah,
to keep over.
Because where do you, if you give her the title, given that she looks unbeatable, where do you go with that? So I think it makes sense.
Okay, let's go back. We were much more comfortable. Let's go backstage to Cornette's office again. We've got Jeremy Borash, Foley, and AJ Styles. And AJ Styles is very excited that Foley's there, which is great. Unfortunately, that's broken up by Brother Ray and Devon.
Yeah.
And Bubba's in a foul mood here.
Yeah, oh yeah. Furious. Absolutely furious.
AJ's a mark. You're a huge mark. And then him, I liked how he just kept calling him Cactus. Cactus.
Yeah. So these guys would have been in ECW together as well as WWE.
Yeah.
So they probably go back a long way. I remember hating what they'd done with AJ before. I was quite liking AJ in the office. Being that over-enthusiastic guy with Foley, because, I don't know, it just felt like it fitted. So I was a little bit disappointed when Bubba and Devon kind of just shoved him away, basically.
And Foley's just trying to joke along with them a little bit. He's talking about Bubba having on the plaid shirt and stuff like that, but Bubba and Devon very angry. Grrr.
I think, is this where Cornette comes back in just after that? Because I thought Cornette was, again, acting up a storm here.
So happy.
Yeah.
So that sets us up, actually. So we've got Team 3D up on next. So we've got a Monsters Ball match. And just when you thought Monsters Ball match couldn't get more chaotic, we've got a 4-team tag team match. Monsters Ball match with a special ref. Mongo McMichael is back in Chicago, looking dishevelled like he's just rolled out of bed. So we've got Team 3D versus LAX versus Matt Morgan and Abyss versus the champions Beer Money Incorporated. You don't love the Monsters Ball matches. I don't mind them sometimes.
I just felt like, to be honest, for me, as soon as I didn't mind the very start. I got LAX kicking some ass, and I was enjoying that. And I was getting a tope by Homicide and a suicide dive by Hernandez, and I'm enjoying that. And then there's trash cans, and then somebody's head's getting forked, and I'm like, yeah, okay.
Homicide takes a fork to Devon. Bubba takes a cheese grater to Abyss. And then Don West goes, he had him right in the nuts. This is brilliant. Bubba Ray or Brother Ray or whatever is licking the blood off the cheese grater. No for me, pal. Didn't do that. What is the story with Abyss here? What were you taking? That he's been working with a therapist?
Yeah, so like they've I think there's always been this sort of story was that Abyss was like basically a psychiatric patient, escapee maybe from
like a Michael Myers kind of character.
Yeah, and they seem to now be, rather than that just being there as a background thing, and then they seem to be really leaning into it, that he is trying to get better. He's trying to help himself, and there's talk of a therapist. And in this show, was this the show where did they refer to him as his real name at a point somewhere?
He's got a top on that looks like something that somebody would wear in like an asylum or something like that. And it's got Park on it. Yes,
because his name's, I think, Joseph Park. Yeah, so that they're putting that out there and all that, and they're talking about the fact, can he and Matt Morgan trust each other or something like that. That seemed to be a thing they were going with.
I wouldn't trust Matt Morgan to do old school on a 6-sided ring.
No,
it's not a good look. I think what was our boy called? What was Lance Archer? Lance Hoyt. He did old school as well, I think, didn't he?
Yeah, I think that's right. There was I noticed a few things with Matt Morgan. I'm not sure he's an in-ring technician. He definitely messed up a tilt-a-whirl backbreaker, definitely. But yeah, just looked a bit off.
Yeah, it was this match that made me realise why he was only in WWE for such a short time.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about Mongo. There's a few things, but his counts. I thought one of the wrestlers was maybe going to hit him.
Yeah. I didn't know, was this planned, or was he trying to make himself, the focal point of what was going on?
So he was supposed to be an enforcer for the match to get the crowd popping, all that, being back in Chicago. Yeah. Then they went, oh shit, Foley's an enforcer already. You just be the ref. So that's how that's come about. He was doing the slowest. Not only was he doing the slowest counts in the world, a lot of time when guys were pinning guys, he was looking at the crowd and stuff like that. And like,
yeah.
Oh yeah. All right. Okay. Okay. I'll just get down here. And one. So that was one issue. But the scrimmage thing with James Storm and Bobby Roode was no good.
No.
That's some bad comedy wrestling.
Yeah. Yeah, that was pretty terrible.
So Storm's got like an American football helmet with beers in it, drinking from them. He puts on his helmet and challenges Mongo to like a scrimmage. They got a football from somewhere, didn't they?
Yeah, I think there was a football. Yeah.
Storm snaps the ball to Roode, and Mongo clears them out. Why is the referee taking out participants in the match?
Very unprofessional.
Ridiculous.
Did I notice, was Hernandez really struggling to open up the bag of thumbtacks? So Mongo had to do it for him, and he's just helping him do this. Which I assume was legitimate. I just don't think that Hernandez could get it open.
That was funny. There's a point where Morgan, does a big boot to Hernandez. He looks like he kicks his head clean off his shoulders.
Yeah.
And then he fucks up a move on Homicide. But instead of just I don't know, putting him back down and then doing something else to him, he just fucking drops him right in his head. I don't know how to finish this move off, so I'll just drop you on your head.
Yeah. He's not the guy.
The aforementioned table with the tacks that Mongo's helpfully put out on it, Hernandez takes a 3D through it. That's no good. Those tacks go flying everywhere.
Yeah, that didn't look nice.
And the finish isn't great either. So there's a 3D on Hernandez. I think either Storm spit beer in Devon's face.
Yeah.
Bubba somehow gets chucked out the ring, and Beer Money get the win and retain their titles. It's all a bit messy. It wasn't bad.
I think I came away from it thinking if I could get a program with Beer Money and LAX, I'd be happy with that. Might seem a little bit similar to America's Most Wanted and LAX, given one of the participants is the same, but it was what I'd prefer to have watched.
We missed out probably something quite glaring, which would be Team 3D putting Abyss through a flaming table.
Yes.
Not only did they put him through a flaming table, but he then rolled around on fire for fucking ages before the guys put him out.
Yeah. You see, I couldn't decide, is he in genuine agony or is he really trying to milk the fact that he's on fire? I wasn't sure.
He looked like he was doing that thing where you like try to run away.
Yeah.
Even though he was, on fire. Yeah, it didn't look good at all.
No. And then after helping or seemingly teaming with Beer Money at a point, then Mongo didn't seem to want to make the count when Beer Money were in the position to win.
No, he almost had to be told to count the third count, didn't he?
Yep.
Awful. Mongo, the worst member of the Horsemen ever.
Yeah.
The most inexplicable member of the Four Horsemen. Oh dear. Again, we say it every week or every pay-per-view, but the MVPs, LAX, are just amazing.
Yeah,
they're
very, very good.
They did that thing where like everybody got their sort of highlight, but when it was LAX's, they're just brilliant to watch.
Yeah.
Okay. The next match is a three-way dance. Booker T. I was probably quite close to trying to do the Booker T accent that he uses here, but I'm not, thankfully, refrained.
Yeah.
Booker T versus Christian Cage versus AJ Styles. The sort of story here is a wily veteran, the young upstart, and then the guy that's sort of in the middle there.
Yeah.
Would you say that's fair? That's what they were sort of going for?
Yeah, and a lot of the chat before, because Booker T's obviously come in and he will have known Christian from the WWE days, and he's talking about AJ having used Christian to elevate himself. That AJ's talking about how he wants respect for the original TNA guys, and he's seeing all these WWE guys come in and all that. And I thought that that's fair enough. I could think that this could be an interesting story. It ended up annoying me though.
Oh, what annoyed you?
Yeah, I think mostly the fact that Booker won the match.
Oh,
I think I wanted AJ to win the match.
I liked that there was they started making an arse of things towards the end, which wasn't ideal. There was a situation where Christian sort of stood bent over for ages waiting on the axe kick from Booker, which looked poor, as unlike Christian. But they did do quite a cool thing where they had AJ Styles doing the sort of risky, reckless moves. You had Christian almost taking himself out of the match quite a lot of the time and sort of just moving out the way of what's going on. And Booker just a bit more measured and capitalising on AJ when he was going for the sort of more riskier moves, which I quite liked.
Yeah. I think for me, when I'm looking at it, because a year ago, Christian and AJ were still quite closely aligned. They were basically, Christian was leading a faction, and AJ was part of that. And when I saw this and how it was coming about, I thought, well, you've got Booker, who is a huge star, is being a main event guy, and I was thinking, and maybe I just expectation or want what I wanted maybe took over my mind, because I was like, this is a big star, and if you give AJ a pin win over Booker, maybe the fact that he felt like he was heading to the top and then it felt like he drifted a wee bit, maybe this is the kind of thing you do to establish him again near the top of the card. But maybe Booker with name value, star, being in fairly recently, they don't want to just beat him straight away. But then I started thinking, well, you could have had AJ beat Christian and Booker further that story. Like I told you, this was always his plan. He's looking to get over on you, looking to make himself a star out of you. You've got to make yourself the star, and then Christian could have just kicked Booker's ass. But yeah, I don't know. I didn't feel like where do you now go with any of it? I didn't feel like that it made that much sense to me for where I would have wanted it to go.
Okay. Have we seen AJ and Kurt Angle in the same ring? No.
I don't think so.
No. Interesting.
Yeah.
I'd feel like that's somewhere I'd be desperate to see them go.
I think it must at some point, surely.
Yeah, you would think so.
Yeah.
I just that elevation would seem like the next logical step for going in the direction of your booking that you're talking about there, which would be quite interesting to see. You're looking puzzled.
No, I got a pop-up on my laptop and I don't know what it means. I'm just ignoring it.
Is it anything to do with the hardcore queen Roxy?
No.
Okay, not that kind of
I
pop-up.
don't. I'm an adult now. I don't mistreat my laptops anymore.
Oh, you got a separate laptop. Let's go backstage. We're with Crystal. She is with Kurt Angle. He is questioning if this match between him and Jeff Jarrett is going to be one-on-one. He is saying that Foley is there to help Jeff Jarrett, and I obviously got too involved in this because I've written, don't try to tell me that Kurt Angle isn't the greatest of all time. What a promo. So unfortunately I can't tell you any more about the content of it, but I can tell you it was amazing.
Yeah, I thought he was really good. He's always been a pretty good promo, but in such different ways. Like, he can be vicious, and some of this was pretty cutting. I think this is where he's talking about Jarrett's wife dying of cancer, and then he says something like, "Tell the kids Daddy's not coming home after Bound for Glory," or something like that. And I was like, wow, and for the guy to have been, he was for a while Mr. Over the Top, 3 eyes and all that, and then, he went a bit more heelish in terms of aggressive and stuff like that, and then you've also had like the pure comedy that he's delivered in promos at times, but he's actually, maybe it's because of the in-ring work, you don't think about or talk about the promos that much, but he is good, and he's so bloody intense all the time.
Yeah. That's why I got in here, intensity. Vicious, isn't he? This run that he's had. Who's he facing at the last one? When was it Sting?
Yeah.
He was like that there as well. He's had this. He must have had this run of like this villainous, angry, intense run. It's great. Then we jump across. We got Jeff Jarrett with Jeremy Borash. Jeff Jarrett looking very emotional. I think his voice is wavering.
Like, as I'm listening to this, I'm not thinking he's selling this here. I'm thinking he is speaking from the heart and oofed.
Yeah.
I think we've talked about it before. I've never been the biggest fan of Jeff Jarrett. I liked him here, and I think because he's not playing some, wannabe country star. He's not, being outlandish characters or anything like that. I think this is probably the closest he's been to just being him.
He's just a guy. A guy that's went through a hard time.
Yeah.
They do a really good video package for this. There's a great line that Angle says, "I turned this outhouse into a penthouse." The whole story of Jeff having been the first champion, Jeff being basically the founder, and that's the kind of underline, that's the undercurrent of what's going on here, is that he started TNA, and Kurt Angle's basically saying, "You went away, I've elevated this. This is massive now because of me." I love all that, and adding to that, Jeff Jarrett's this sort of wounded man, as well. It's a really good story, really good story.
Yeah.
And this would be the best match I think I've ever seen Jeff Jarrett involved in.
Yeah, agreed.
So it's Kurt Angle versus Jeff Jarrett. Mick Foley's a special enforcer. I think I'd says to you that I loved it, and I think you said didn't love it as much or something like that. Is that true?
Was that not about the show as a whole?
Oh, was that okay? Okay.
Yeah. No, I enjoyed this match. I enjoyed the storyline. I thought, like, you kind of wonder when somebody's going in with Angle, and we've seen Angle with some brilliant, opponents and really make it work. It's, Jeff Jarrett's not Samoa Joe. He's not Chris Benoit, but he can go in the ring. He's a good wrestler. I don't think that's ever been the slight on him. They kind of go through, him trying to mat wrestle Kurt for a while, which we have seen before. I felt like it worked here again because it's like I I'm going to do everything I can to prove I am as good as you, and even if people generally think he's not, it made sense for him to try and do that.
Yep.
And then when it kind of breaks into a fight as emotions are taking over and things like that, I think that works as well. I enjoyed the match. Thought it was very good.
He does stuff that I don't think I've ever seen him do. Certainly not a slingshot dive over the top rope.
Yeah.
He hits this great big drop kick on Kurt Angle, and like you said, he's trying to wrestle him right from the very start. He's takedown control and that sort of thing. You get off of Jeff Jarrett this sort of determination that you don't normally get. I don't think it's certainly probably the most sort of serious match. I would say that I think I've, between what happened in the ring and the storyline that goes along with it, I was thinking like, this is a 5-star match. I thought it was absolutely brilliant.
And they got me with some false finishes as well. Like there were points where the ankle lock was on. I think there was a point where the ankle lock was on, and Jarrett stayed in it for a long time. And you're thinking, as you sort of build your own story around it or add to your own story around it, well, the pain the guy's been through, maybe he can stay in this for a long period of time, because maybe this isn't a fraction of what he's been feeling for the last couple of years. And then I think just after the ankle lock, as Jarrett rolls him, Angle hits an angle slam immediately, and it was a close 2 count.
Yeah.
That one got me. I thought that was it. I don't often get caught by false finishes. It has to be quite a good match for me to be that in it that I'm thinking that's going to be it.
Nice. It's funny. You had. Do you know what would have been really good if they'd you had Foley on the outside, so something.
Yeah.
He's going to have to get involved somehow. Imagine they'd completely subverted that expectation by just having a, no ref bump. It would have been silly. We'd have probably been sitting here. What do they have Foley out there for if they're not going to use him? But so you knew that the ref bump was coming. I don't know why, but I absolutely love when Kurt Angle does the low blows.
Yeah,
because he does them like so viciously.
Yeah, it's heel Kurt Angle in TNA loves a low blow. It's his go-to to regain the advantage, and I don't know, it fits. He makes it work.
Yeah, it's sort of hypocritical because he's the wrestling machine, but when push comes to shove, he requires to kick the guy in the balls to sort of get back on top, like you say.
Yeah.
We knew that Angle and Foley would come face to face, but Angle fucking cracks him over the head with a chair. It's
I
horrible.
didn't like that so much.
He rattles his brains. So how do we get to finish here? We've got Angle cracks Jarrett with the chair. He's going for the pin, but Foley launches the ref out the ring. But when Angle's going for the pin, he comes in and gives Kurt the mandible claw. Jeff appears out of nowhere with a guitar shot, and Jeff gets the 3 with Foley doing the pin.
Yep.
A really satisfying way, actually, to end the match. Like Jarrett definitely deserves the win.
Yeah.
Does nothing bad for Kurt Angle losing that, certainly in that way as well.
I think as long as you're, not making him, the greatest paid jobber of all time, I think Kurt Angle can lose any match, and it's never gonna make fans think he can't win any match. He's that established. I feel like you had to have Jarrett win the match. Like with everything, with the story, with the way it went. Had it been Angle, I think you probably would have. Even with every fan respects Angle, but I think the audience probably would have just been so deflated by it had Jarrett not got the win. And he's, we've talked before, he's never going to be one of my all-time favourites or anything like that. But when a guy had been through what he'd been through, and this was his company, and he had to step away and walk away for a while, and then he comes back. There's I think from an all-audience watching point of view, it's like a respect.
Mm-hmm.
He's been through hell and he's come back and he's now, going to try and rebuild. This is, career, life, everything. So there's like a feeling of respect. So you want to see the guy get the win.
100%. Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say something there. forgotten what I was going to say. Oh, yeah. Weird, and for all the Angle stuff that we've seen over the years, I think that cements for me. He's 100%. I don't know why this match cements it for me, but he's the best ever. You can't tell me otherwise.
No, that's fine. I can't. On our first ever episode, was he in the top? Nah. I tell you, it's going to be such. When we, at the an anniversary episode when we revisit and redo a top 5, it's going to look very different from what it did.
I think we were looking at, we were legacy. We were talking about legacy and the way that the business was being sort of spearheaded by Hogan, Austin, blah blah. But I just think that there's nothing Angle there's nothing he can't do. Yeah, I don't think.
As I mentioned earlier, I definitely forgot just how good a promo he is. In ring, I think people would always put him right at the top, but his promos are as good as anyone's.
100%. Like you say, like sometimes when I think of Kurt Angle, I think of him with that daft wee sombrero on and being sort of Stone Cold's lackey almost. And then, we watched that match with him and Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 21.
Yeah.
And that was just unbelievable. Mm-hmm. He's just so talented. Ridiculous. Yeah, I'm so glad we're watching a lot of this TNA run, because I've never seen it. Like I say, I think it cements a lot for me.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Okay, we got a video package for Samoa Joe, who is the champion now, and Sting. I feel like the table is being set for the main event Mafia at this point. We got a lot of chat about these young guns, and certainly Sting's talking about the lack of respect in TNA for the veterans of the business and all this sort of stuff, which is quite cool. Was there anything else from the package that you took from it?
No, I don't think so. I think this was one that I found a little bit. I'm always generally a believer that your title match should be on last, but this, like going into this, I thought this is going to be difficult because
deflating.
The match that's just gone before. Now Samoa Joe is amazing and Sting's Sting, so it's not like it's a weak match to have as your main event. But I think I almost feel like, do you need a buffer? Do you need like a palate cleanser or something? Just
what do they do at like WrestleMania 10? Earthquake squash somebody for like 30 seconds in between two technical matches, sort of thing.
Just summon, and then you can get up again. But I also started thinking as I was writing this, and I think they covered it during the match in the commentary, that Sting always seems to be in the title match at Bound for Glory, and always seems to win the title at Bound for Glory. Weird.
Going back to what you were saying there, I don't know if this was the wrestlers themselves or the agent or whatever, but they did a really smart thing, and they almost had a completely opposite match to Angle and Jarrett.
Yeah.
And they straight away almost went outside, and they went into the crowd, and they didn't start like a technical match the same as Angle Jarrett. I really appreciated that about us. Which takes us nicely up the stairs. They fight up the stairs, way higher. I thought they were going to go away into the building, like we've seen before. But they don't. Joe leaves Sting on the concrete stairs and sort of walks off like he's away somewhere, turns around and runs at him, and takes a running dive at Sting onto the stairs, kind of hitting him.
Yeah.
Not massively hitting him, and just thumps onto the concrete stairs.
Yeah, I couldn't work out how that didn't hurt Joe a hell of a lot.
He just bounced back up. He didn't even look like he was wincing or anything. No. Apparently, what he was supposed to do, I think, was a diving elbow. But Sting, when he took off, he realised Sting was too far away, so he tried to do like a sort of running drop kick. But I've got my notes here. That's one of the craziest things I've ever seen.
Yeah.
That's like putting yourself in danger for no reason.
Massively. Yeah.
They really they're round the arena and like really thick in between the fans, like literally wandering like over the chairs and stuff like that, aren't they?
Yeah.
And they're like slam each other onto the chairs, and it's pretty.
Goes on quite a while, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The fighting outside. Yeah.
A lot of chaos. Once they move back into the ring, what do you think of the actual match once they get back into the ring?
I thought it was fine. Like I thought they kind of did what, they both had their moments. Like there's quite a lot of dominance by Joe in the ring, and he looks like I think he's trying to set up for Muscle Buster and things like that quite early once they've got back in. And then Sting, like a few moves that I didn't really remember. Like he does a off the top rope DDT, I think.
Yeah.
And there were a few things that he was doing that I was thinking, that's a bit odd. But then I really wasn't sure how I felt about a sequence that comes up, which is so Sting hits Joe with a muscle buster, and Joe no sells it.
Yes.
And he's just straight back up
Yes.
on his feet. And then Joe hits a scorpion death drop on Sting, and he's just popped right back up. Now, so these are signature moves, but I was struggling a wee bit with what this was trying to tell you.
Mm-hmm.
So it has to be done by the right person for it to have an impact, or they know the move so well, they know how to make it not hurt them, or they're impervious to their own moves. You can't hurt them with them.
Yeah, I don't know. Like Sting, obviously this is a Sting thing, where he no-sells and bats his chest and all that Ultimate Warrior comeback sort of thing. I didn't like it when Joe no-sold the Muscle Buster. It's just a bit stupid. He gets up and slaps the soul out of him as well.
Yeah.
It's just...
I felt like that took me out of it a wee bit. And then I was just thinking, oh well, we must be getting fairly close to some sort of conclusion then.
And I think we get, like, immediately after that, 2 Stinger splashes, and Sting goes for the third one, and Joe slams him, catches him, slams him on the third. So the 2 Stinger splashes haven't made much impact either. I was laughing because I thought you were going to say something about the bump on Hebner, because he's such a little gimp. He's just such a little gimp.
So I did notice is it Joe? What does Joe do something to Hebner here?
Oh no, I don't actually. I didn't have what happened. I've just got there's a ref bump. Hebner's a little gimp.
Yeah, I've got Joe, because Joe started doing some kicks and they looked stiff as anything. I think Joe would be terrifying, although people say, like Angle says, he leans it in, but he's not going to hurt you. I'm like, Jesus.
Wow.
Yeah, I think Joe sort of, he's right in Hebner's face and then he's grabbing him and stuff like that, and I think maybe sends him to the mat, maybe just before Kevin Nash starts walking down.
And Big Sexy living up to the moniker.
Oh yeah.
He's tanned, his hair's looking good, he's been working out.
He was looking so sort of old and beaten down at the last one. Like you couldn't have really imagined him being an in-ring performer anymore. But here, he's like you say, he's Big Sexy all over again.
Looking good. So he comes out. I've got my notes. I was just thinking it's been quite good to get through a pay-per-view without Kevin Nash. So Sting goes to grab his bat, but Nash grabs it away from him.
Yeah. So I think they mentioned that he'd been mentoring Joe.
That's right.
Nash.
That's right.
Yeah.
Then little gimp Hebner gets bumped. Nash, I think Nash almost botches missing Joe. Joe goes to bounce off the ropes, and Nash just manages to hit him on the back with the bat. Almost like so quick and you'll miss it.
Yeah.
whilst Hebner's down, Sting hits the Scorpion Death Drop, and that's it.
Yep.
Yeah, a little bit of a anticlimactic finish.
I suppose it may be like thinking about this again. I suppose you've got Nash making a comeback just when the main event Mafia is going to become pretty prominent, and he has here turned on the younger guy that he had been helping out. So I suppose that makes sense with where things are going to go.
They should have Nash versus the Motor City Machine Guns, or even worse, the Paparazzi guys as well. I'm taking all the X Division guys that he's been talking about.
That's going to happen. You've said it.
Overall, enjoyable again?
So
Question mark?
I thought that match was fine. I thought that the Booker, Christian, AJ, I thought was fine. It just the finish annoyed me a bit in terms of who went over. But you know, I'm not a child. I shouldn't get too caught up in things like that. I loved the Angle Jarrett story, and I thought the match was very good. That's probably about it for me. I enjoyed some of the stuff that LAX were doing, but the match was a bit annoying in a way. That's probably about it for me.
I'll give you Wrestling Observer ratings. So the Steel Asylum match gets 3.25 stars. The Monsters Ball tag match got 3.5. Jarrett Angle got 3.75. And Sting and Joe got 3.75. That's some hater shit.
Yeah, Jarrett Angle should have been, well into the fours. And
obviously, Cute Kip and the Beautiful People should have been up there as well. Surely. So, yeah. So we talked last time about following Main Event Mafia, didn't we?
Yeah.
Got myself right tangled up thinking about what we were doing and where we were going in different years and stuff like that. So they really have set a table for the main event Mafia here. Yep. What we are going to do is pick up a couple of months down the line. So we're in October here. We're going to pick up from December. So you and I will do it. So I was thinking instead of doing a film, we'll just catch up with the Main Event Mafia stuff and then do the pay-per-view from December.
Yep.
That sound all right to you?
Yeah, yep, that's fine.
Okay, do you want me to run down for you the card?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so it's TNA Final Resolution 2008. Here we go. We've got Okay, so we've got a Feast or Fired match to kick things off. I feel like there's a blueprint for a TNA pay-per-view now, and it's just like, okay, how can we follow it? No LAX on this card.
So Feast or Fired, I think, is where there's a briefcase, and you either get like a title shot or basically your
papers.
P45. Yeah.
Right. Okay, so it's a ladder match, basically.
I think so.
Okay, so it's Jay Lethal, Chris Sabin, Alex Shelley, Shark Boy, Curryman, Jimmy Rave, Sonjay, BG James, Homicide, Lance Rock, Cute Kip, Hernandez, and Consequences Creed.
Okay,
that's
so
like
Homicide,
a pick and mix.
Hernandez are in here.
Yep.
Okay.
We've got a 6-man tag team match. ODB, Roxy, and Taylor Wilde versus the Beautiful People and Charmel.
Charmel in a match. Okay, in a match.
The X Division title match is Abdul Bashir versus Eric Young. Fuck. TNA Women's Knockout title match. The champion, Awesome Kong, versus Christy Hemme. Oh my god.
Oh, that's... Yeah.
She could pull her apart. TNA World Tag Team title match. Beer Money Incorporated versus Abyss and Matt Morgan. A singles match with Special Enforcer Mick Foley, Rhino versus Kurt Angle. So Rhino's sort of aligned with the the TNA talent sort of thing, I take it.
Yeah, he's a funny one because I suppose he was never a main event guy in WWE. He's an established guy, but never a main event guy.
Yeah. So the main event is a TNA World Heavyweight Title 8-man tag team match. I'll say that again. A TNA World Heavyweight Title 8-man tag team match. Okay.
Right.
It's the main event Mafia, Booker T, Kevin Nash, Scott Steiner and Sting, Sting being the champion, versus the front line, AJ Styles, Brother Devon, Brother Ray and Samoa Joe.
Okay. And how does that work? Do you win the title if you pin Sting?
I assume so.
Mhm.
Please let Scott Steiner try to pin Sting.
Okay, this is going to be interesting.
It is. So like I say, we'll get caught up on what's happening with the main event Mafia. We'll see the formation. We'll see what happens with Christian. Christian, by the time we get to the next pay-per-view, will be back in WWE or WWECW. Yeah, so it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
Good to explore something new again, like we've said before. Have you watched? I don't think you have you? Like anything sort of main event Mafia related?
I don't remember. I remember hearing about it. At some point, I became a guy that would occasionally, on various websites, have a look and see what's said to have happened in a wrestling company, rather than actually watch the product. So I think I'd maybe become that for TNA by this point.
Right. So any of the shows that we've watched up until now, have you seen?
I think maybe there might have been some in around 2006 or 5.
Right.
I think I'd seen. I definitely I remember seeing some of the stuff. It wasn't the pay-per-view, but some of the stuff around Angle and Joe when that was starting off. But that was more the TV side of it rather than the event. But I think certainly by 2007, I don't think I was watching.
Okay. How do you think this stuff compares to? I'll give you a few different comparisons. So how do you think this stuff compares to mid-90s WCW?
So are we talking when the NWO hadn't yet, or just when they were starting to?
Say like early NWO.
Okay. I think a lot. I've quite enjoyed a lot of what we've watched for TNA, but I think maybe some of the overarching storylines haven't been great. We've just seen a great storyline with Jarrett and Angle, and we had a great storyline with Angle and Joe as well.
Yeah.
But I think as you go through the card, some of the a lot of what the X divisions become and the multi-person matches and things like that feel a bit throwaway.
Mm-hmm.
But then I don't remember being as impressed by any of the tag stuff in WCW as some of the stuff we got with LAX and the America's Most Wanted and things like that. I thought some of that was brilliant.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like I've really enjoyed this because it's felt fresh. I don't know. I think it almost feels impossible to go back and rewatch WCW stuff and for it to feel fresh. I think even looking back, it feels like, well, obviously we knew that was all going to happen type thing. Whereas this has been a bit more which I've enjoyed. I think some of it's been a bit car crash, but again, WCW had plenty of that as well.
And what about just thinking we did the Edge journey? Thinking, see if you compare what we've watched with the same era in WWE, so 2005, 6, 7, 8. You'd have been watching.
Yeah,
then, would
I think
you?
I would.
Well, how do you find it compare?
I feel like I've maybe enjoyed this more. I think by that era in WWE, the sort of ruthless aggression had calmed down a bit. They were more heading towards PG rated and I think lots of generic, all kind of very samey performers, whereas this, it's not worked all the way through the card, obviously, but it's been some real standout and some real, I feel like I need to watch the next show moments, which I don't think happened very often watching WWE in that era. So I think I've preferred this.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And one last one. Sorry for the third degree, sort of the Spanish Inquisition, as it were. Modern wrestling that we have watched. So we've watched a couple of WrestleManias back to back. We've watched an AEW pay-per-view. How would you compare this sort of era TNA to like modern wrestling that you've watched?
I definitely prefer some of the stuff in this to some of the stuff you've seen. Like we've talked before about, I struggle with a lot of the sort of over choreographed look in a lot of what happens, and again, probably putting everything in the same category for WWE wouldn't be fair, because you've had some great storylines. You've had the Bloodline, when it was hot, it was ridiculously hot, and a great storyline. Excuse me, but I've felt like for years, like the last few years, and it probably has improved in the last maybe year or two from what I've seen. I feel like WWE had gone to, last week didn't matter. Let's, focus on today. The audience didn't remember what happened last week, all that kind of thing. I felt like there were some really good in TNA longer term stories. Nice. Joe and Angle was a great longish term story. The LAX breakthrough was a great, quite long term story. And again, in WWE, is it better now? I miss tag team wrestling when you don't see it. And TNA, it's not always perfect, but there has been quite a bit of tag team wrestling.
Strong division that they've had throughout. Yeah. Apart from the Steiners versus the Dudleys at the time. Yeah, I think I'd agree. Basically, I pretty much agree with everything that you're saying. I think there's an element for me of they're the underdog, so kind of let them off a little bit. Whereas you expect a higher standard possibly from WWE.
It's a funny one with WWE, because I think I stopped expecting like good quality. Like definitely a few years ago, I remember like when I got to the stage of probably only watching like 2 shows a year. I'd watch the Rumble and then I'd watch WrestleMania. I remember kind of watching it expecting to think it was bad. And that's not good. That's not where you want to be.
Point, no.
But and then you're like, if there's something good happening, I felt like I was pleasantly surprised. Like if there was someone actually grabbing me. Whereas I feel like some of the TNA stuff, and again, I think underdog is a factor, because you hear TNA and you watch it and you think, well, how good is it really going to be? And then when it does deliver something, you're like, oh, yeah.
Aye. I think that's the sort of AEW thing. That's why people wanted AEW to succeed, is that underdog thing, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Interesting. I just thought I'd ask. Okay. So, no movie next time. You can watch whatever movie you want.
Thanks.
Then you can tell us all about it. What other movies have you watched recently that you've enjoyed?
I was messaging you about wanting to watch like David Lynch movies.
Oh, yes.
I don't know why it kicked in, but I was a big fan of Twin Peaks. I think you were a fan of Twin Peaks as well.
Yeah.
So I thought I need to see a bit more. And there's a podcast I listen to that's about horror films, and they've gone on to a subgenre that is talking about mind and body. So almost all the mind stuff is David Lynch, and then the body is David Cronenberg. It's the two Davids that they're splitting it between. And they were talking about Blue Velvet, and I was thinking, I've not seen this. This sounds like something I need to watch. And they're talking about how it's maybe the most sort of similar film to what Twin Peaks was, and I thought, I need to go and watch this. And there were a couple other films that were mentioned. I think one was Lost Highway, Mulholland Drive, which I have seen, but I would maybe rewatch at some point. So I got to the stage of like sourcing Blue Velvet and thinking I'm going to watch this, and then I decided last minute because I ended up having to work a bit at the weekend. I thought, no, I'm not going to ruin this by watching it on what is effectively felt like a work day, but I've got hopefully a long weekend coming up, and I thought that's when I can maybe get some decent films watched.
You got it all planned out. I like it. Nice. I watched something called Kate on Netflix about an assassin who'd been poisoned, and she had like a really short period of time to basically get vengeance on the people that had poisoned her. It was the actress who is in... Oh, God. This is useless. What is the name of that?
Who's that woman from that thing, with the other guy?
What is the movie? Is it Michael Cera? And he's trying to win the affections of the girl, and she's got all these different boyfriends, and he needs to battle them.
Oh, it's Scott Pilgrim versus the...
Yes, Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Yes, that's it.
The girl that plays, like, the girl.
Mary Elizabeth Winstead?
Winstead, there she is.
Yeah.
She's really good. She is sort of daft one, but it's good fun.
It's really, when you put on a film, and when you're just in the mood for something that's quite light, not too, and it's a pleasant surprise. You're like, oh, this is actually good. There's sometimes nothing better than that. Just like the right kind of film in the right moment. We started watching a TV show called The Gentleman on Netflix.
Oh, it's supposed to be good.
Did 2 episodes of it. It's promising start, and I keep thinking we need to watch more of it. But then I think it's 8 episodes, and they're all like, I think, just over an hour, and it feels like a bit of a commitment. But I've started, so it's going to get finished.
It's well finished. Nice.
Yeah.
I am 5 episodes into the final season of Sopranos.
Oh, nice.
So I've got a wee bit to go, because this is like 21 episodes the last season.
You never seen it before?
Nah.
Nice. You enjoyed it so far?
Amazing.
It must be up there with the best TV shows ever made.
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%. Incredible. I thought it maybe lagged a little bit in season 5, but season 6 is picked up.
Nice.
Beautifully.
It's one of those, I didn't watch it when it was on, I watched it a few years after, and it's always been one of those that I thought I'll go back and rewatch at some point. But even though it's definitely over 10 years since I watched it, I don't feel like it'd be time yet. I think that was also in my mind for Twin Peaks, that at some point I gotta go back and rewatch everything that was Twin Peaks related, including the very, very dark film.
That would hurt my head watching Twin Peaks again, I think. I'm sure I could do it. Okay. Right. Well, that was nice. We shall talk again in 2 weeks once we've been filled up on Main Event Mafia.
Nice.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Have you heard the Main Event Mafia theme song?
No.
Oh, you're in for a treat. Right. We shall speak in 2 weeks. You take it easy, and please keep growing that beard.
We'll see.
Nice one. Right. Speak to you soon.
Cheers.